Hi, my name is Maria, and I will be talking about how food preparation and storage can be used as disease control. Many foodborne outbreaks caused by lapses in food safety or by emerging pathogens are vivid reminders that food not only nourishes and sustains us, but if it's handled unsafely, it can be a major threat to our health and well-being. Significant progress has been made towards decreasing foodborne illnesses caused by key pathogens, with the exception of Salmonella. The decline is good news, but the rate is still higher than Healthy People 2020 goals. An estimated 1 in 6 Americans experience foodborne illness, and these infections have high cost, which is reflected through healthcare costs, lost productivity, and diminished quality of life. This may be a result of preventable food handling mistakes at home. Between 1998 and 2008, 9 to 15% of these infections were from food-related incidents in the house. Poultry and leafy vegetables are food vehicles for 1 in 5 of these illnesses, and half or more of salmonella outbreaks can be traced to homes. So today I will be talking about various food preparation and storage procedures which can be used to prevent these illnesses. More than 56,000 people per year become ill due to foodborne diseases in the United States. Home is the primary location where these outbreaks occur. The greatest proportion of food we eat is prepared at home, which increases the opportunities for food handling errors to occur. 1/4 of U.S. population is at increased risk for foodborne disease and at high risk for severe health outcomes if they become ill. However, many consumers, even those who are in high-risk groups, do not perceive themselves or someone in their families to be susceptible to foodborne illness, rank their risk of foodborne illness lower than those of others, or they do not follow all the recommended food safety practices, and consequently, they do not take sufficient precautions. Food prepared in the home may be served to a wider community, putting those people at risk as well. About 6 in 10 consumers recognize that they're responsible for food safety, and nearly all say they gave at least some thought to food safety in the past year, but there are still gaps. So what can be done to prevent them? Well, cleaning, separating, chilling, and cooking your food is very important. According to Healthy People 2020, only about 37% of consumers achieve the goal of heating foods, such as meat and poultry, to temperatures which are sufficient enough to kill harmful pathogens, which is a big problem. So what are some food safety myths? Well, some people think that food poisoning isn't that big of a deal. They think, oh, I'm just gonna tough it out for a day or two and then it's gonna be over. But what many people don't know is that they can actually lead to long-term health conditions, and 3,000 Americans each year die from foodborne diseases. Other people think it's okay to thaw meat on their counter. Since it starts out frozen, the bacteria isn't really a problem. However, bacteria grow surprisingly rapidly at room temperature, so the counter is never a safe place to thaw foods. Others think they don't need to wash fruits and vegetables because they're just going to peel them. But because it's so easy to transfer bacteria from the peel you're cutting to the inside of your fruits and veggies, it is very important to wash all the produce, even if you're going to peel it. Something that to get rid of the bacteria in meat, poultry, or seafood, they want to rinse it off with water first. But actually rinsing meat, poultry, and seafood with water can increase the chance of foodborne poisoning, because you're going to spread the bacteria to the counter and to other things that you're cooking, making it easier to infect yourself. Leftovers are safe to eat until they smell bad. No, the kinds of bacteria that cause food poisoning do not affect the look, smell, or taste of food. So to be safe, look at the safe storage times chart, which is provided later in the slides, to make sure that you know the right time to throw food out. Once the food has been cooked, all the bacteria has been killed, and I don't need to worry once it's done. Actually, the possibility of bacteria growth increases after cooking because the drop in temperature allows bacteria to thrive. That is why it's very important to keep cooked foods warmed to the right temperature in order to keep your food safe. So what can we do to keep each other safe when it comes to food? Well, number one is make sure you clean everything, your hands, the food, the surfaces you're about to use. Make sure you separate using different cutting boards. You separate your veggies and fruits from the meats. Make sure you cook everything thoroughly to the right temperature, and make sure you're chilling everything within the 2 hours after cooking it. So the number one rule for cooking is to make sure you have clean hands. Almost all consumers report washing their hands with soap for a full 20 seconds before preparing food. And most consumers also report they often or always wash their hands after handling raw meat. Despite consumers' awareness of the importance of hand washing, they are not washing their hands thoroughly. For example, after handling raw chicken, 73 to 100% of hands of consumers who reported washing their hands after touching the meat were contaminated with Campylobacter, and none of the consumers sufficiently washed their hands to prevent Campylobacter transfer to salads after handling their raw chicken. So make sure you follow all the directions on the picture when washing your hands. When it comes to washing your food, here's what you should wash and should not wash. Before eating or preparing fresh fruits or vegetables, make sure you wash the produce under cold running tap water to remove any lingering dirt. This reduces bacteria that may be present. If there is a firm surface, such as an apple or a potato, the surface can be scrubbed with a brush. When preparing fruits and vegetables, make sure you also cut away any damaged or bruised areas because bacteria love those places. Washing raw poultry, beef, pork, lamb, or veal before cooking is not recommended. Bacteria in raw meat or poultry juices can be spread to other foods, utensils, and surfaces. Some consumers think they are removing bacteria and making their meat or poultry safe. However, some of the bacteria are so tightly attached that you could not remove them no matter how many times you wash. But there are other types of bacteria that could be easily washed off and splashed into the surfaces of your kitchen. Also, soaking poultry in salt water, while this is a personal preference, it does not serve purpose for food safety. Also, make sure you do not wash eggs before storing them. Washing eggs is a routine of commercial processing, and the eggs do not need to be washed again. Another big part of cleaning is washing kitchen surfaces. Bacteria can be spread through the kitchen and get onto cutting boards, utensils, and countertops. So to prevent it, use paper towels or clean cloths to wipe up kitchen surfaces and spills. And if you use washcloths, make sure you use the hot cycle of your washing machine. Wash cutting boards, dishes, utensils in soapy water after preparing each food item and before you go on to the next item. And as an extra precaution, you can also use a solution of 1 tablespoon of unscented liquid chlorine bleach in 1 gallon of water to sanitize washed surfaces and utensils. When talking about separating your foods, make sure you use different cutting boards. Placing ready-to-eat food on surface that held raw meat, poultry, seafood, or eggs can spread bacteria and make you sick. But stopping cross-contamination is simple. Make sure you use one cutting board for fresh produce and another one for raw meat. Make sure you use separate plates and utensils for cooked and raw foods. Before using them again, make sure you thoroughly wash the plates, utensils, and cutting boards that held raw meat, poultry, and seafood. Talking about separating, make sure you keep your pets and your food separate, as they can spread some of the bacteria onto your food that can make you sick. Never thaw or marinate foods on the counter. Many people are surprised at this tip, but since bacteria can multiply rapidly at room temperature, thawing or marinating foods on the counter is one of the riskiest things you can do when preparing food for your family. So make sure you thaw in the refrigerator or you thaw in the microwave, following your owner's manual for thawing, but never on the counter. When cooking eggs and meats, make sure you cook to the right temperatures. Three important temperatures to remember is make sure all your eggs and ground meats are cooked to 160 degrees Fahrenheit, poultry to 165, and fresh meat steaks, chops, and roasts to 145. Other temperatures can be found in the chart to the right. The main thing to remember about chilling is to make sure that you refrigerate everything within 2 hours and in the summer within 1 hour. Also, make sure you do not overstuff your fridge as you need airflow to make sure everything keeps cool. The number of days you can keep certain items in the fridge before going bad is seen in the chart. So what are some dangerous mistakes which can be made while cooking? Well, tasting food to see if it's still good. You can't taste, smell, or see the bacteria that cause food poisoning, so tasting only a tiny amount can cause serious illness. Letting food cool before putting it in the fridge. Illness-causing bacteria can grow in perishable foods within 2 hours unless you refrigerate them. Another mistake is eating raw dough or other foods with uncooked eggs or flour. Those foods can contain E. coli, salmonella, or other harmful bacteria, which can cause serious illness. And the last mistake is undercooking meat, eggs, and poultry. Cooked food is safe only after it's been cooked to a high enough temperature to kill harmful bacteria. Make sure to check the cooking temperatures chart for proper cooking temperatures. So what are some limitations when it comes to foodborne safety? Well, one main limitation is that it's hard to change habits to adapt new practices. A lot of people say that when they make dinner, they have their own routine. They don't think about it too much. So food preparation for many is repeated or habitual behavior. Other limitations include responsibility deflect. Some consumers feel food safety is the responsibility of others higher in the food safety chain, who control food safety risks prior to food being offered for sale. Risky preferences. Some enjoy their eggs with runny center, others prefer the taste of rare meat. Cost-benefit misconception. Oh, that takes too much time. It's so inconvenient. Some feel the time, effort, and resources needed to make change are not reasonable or convenient. Also, there are social fears. What would my family think if I checked the burgers with the thermometer? Some individuals with their primary responsibility for preparing foods in their household indicate that they take great pride in their cooking. Faulty outcome expectations and optimistic bias. Oh, I've always done it this way and I haven't gotten sick. They may fail to understand how emerging pathogens and changes in the food supply make what was once safe behavior, for example, eating raw eggs or rare burgers, now a risky behavior. Or others say, it won't happen to me. Nearly 6 out of 10 consumers believe their chances of getting foodborne illnesses are low. And lastly, illusions of control. Many say, we take the necessary precautions at my house, but two-thirds believe they exert high levels of control over safe food handling when they prepare foods. When asked what grade a food safety expert would give them for food preparation, service, and storage in their home, all but 2% give themselves passing grades. After doing my research, I have found some interesting conclusions in the fact that men, adults younger than 30 or older than 64, and those with at least some post-secondary education are the ones who are more likely to mishandle foods. But consumers all ages make significant mistakes, so it is very important to boost their knowledge, highlight their responsibility, emphasize behavioral control, and build confidence in order to make food preparation more safe. And remember that people who prepare food least frequently are the most dangerous cooks.